Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Roundtable podcast, where we will be having very interesting guests from walks of life. And today we have a particularly interesting guest indeed.
Thank you very much, Rhodesian, my good friend and co-host for the Roundtable podcast. And thank you, NSA, and everyone in live attendance and who helped get this thing up and running. We're very excited about the Roundtable podcast, and we're very excited for this conversation in particular with the legend himself. I call him the real Alex Jones. Hopefully that's not a copyright infringement. Nevertheless, he is that because he is a conspiracy theorist. He is passionate. He has a unique perspective on what's really going on behind the scenes. I know him well. I love him dearly. Welcome to the show, NSA, my friend and favorite alien contactee and targeted individual. Glad to have
freedom of the mind. We will free the mind this day.
So that being said, NSA, let's get right into the meat of the matter. The Roundtable is a conspiracy theory podcast and a conspiracy theory server on Discord, where we also do a lot of debates. We won't be debating today, but we'll certainly be talking about conspiracy theories. Now, you have had a unique life experience, to say the least, and you and I and all of us here have talked to you quite a bit about it, and we think we should try and get into this and figure out what the hell is really going on. So can you take us through this? Just decide where you think is a logical starting point, tell us your story, and we'll take it from there.
Well, I could give a little historicals on my family. Family full of military, World War II heroes and all this shit all the way back about 400 years ago. They came over on a rickety boat in the Pilgrims. They were Pilgrims. Actually, Native Americans married into the family as well. So we got a long history in America for this family. We have from Navy to Air Force to Army, all over the place, even some NSA. So I have a great uncle that was a Ranger in NSA and things like that. So there's a lot of heroes in the family. What happened, first of all? Well, I guess it's to say I moved to the wrong town. So I moved to a town outside of Austin, Texas. Come to find out, this is a military retirement community and all this other things going on, but that's besides the point. I moved here. I took $2,000 and I took my life from California and I moved to Texas in a shitty Toyota, And I was about 21 years old. I ended up managing a retail store for a while. Then I eventually got a job at a very prominent computer company, the world's largest, and was selling software for a while. I bought a home. I owned a home, paid a mortgage for about 3 years in this town. I started having some issues with work, and I decided I needed to leave the job and try and transition to another place of employment. In doing so, I had some 401k and savings to live off of and all this stuff, so I did that. And unfortunately, they put a hiring freeze on the company I was really trying to get into, where all my friends had gone to. So I was kind of stuck for a little while. So I ended up needing to borrow some money from a family member. And this family member, I come to find out, was a former NSA employee. He loaned me the money. He was helping me out for about a month or two before it started. And we basically had an argument. Now, this man suffers from severe PTSD and was drinking, I would assume. And he basically freaked out on me over the phone and said, "Watch your back." I got it in email and text messages and all this, so it's not like I'm making it up. So he says, "Watch your back." And so what happens is I start getting followed. I started getting followed at work. I was working an electrician job, and then later I went into a security guard job, owned by a former military intelligence man, by the way. And so I was doing security, and they just started playing social experiments with me while I was doing that. I suppose they were trying to investigate me, the whole entry level to the targeted individual thing that you start reading about, people thinking the government's watching them and all this stuff. I come to find out later that they do this with SRI, Stanford Research Institute. They run social experiments on specifically security guards in, I believe, the Washington area, trying to see if they're to recruit them into the system or whatever. Anyway, so I start thinking I'm getting followed. They start messing around with start seeing on Facebook people near me type shit that aren't really near me, all kinds of stuff, thinking you're being watched. One of the security places, actually, they would put this guy in an apartment, and he was like an artist, I guess, and he had just weird shit all over the windows and stuff, but it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing security work, walking around, and it's just like weird shit I'm seeing. So I don't know if they're just trying to weird me out, make me paranoid or whatever. And then I start hearing voices. I started hearing whispers, and it was like sound traveling over sound, right? I'm like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. What's going on? I had no idea about the targeted individual phenomenon on Earth. I know concept of what was going on at the time. Later, come to find out, it's a whole project designed with EMF weapons to pacify terrorists, is what they sell it as. So anyway, this program starts. I get guys coming to my house. There's guys crumpling paper outside my window, tape rather, to make noises like they're doing something. Screwdriver noises like they're drilling something into something. Taps on my roof like they're on my roof or something like that. They even started up a lawnmower guy to make it seem like my bike was getting stolen, because I had a motorcycle that was in my driveway, and so they would like try and trick me that my motorcycle was getting started. So I go out and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? One night at like 8 o'clock at night or something, it's dark, or probably later than that. It's dark, and I flip the lights on, and they go, oh shit, he turned on the lights, and they go and vault over the fence. And there's a big foot mark in my fence, and I took a picture of it. So it's like I have like actual proof that these things were happening. So because it's not paranoia if it's really happening, right? Come to find out, this program is designed as a, I'll get to the voices later. The program is designed as a terrorist pacification program. So if they think you're a terrorist, they're going to target you like this, and they're going to abuse you, and it's part of an induced crime wave type psyop that they run.
So, NSA, what was your initial thoughts when these things began to happen? Because as you say, you didn't expect any of these things or even understand them. So what was your thoughts when all of these things first started appearing?
Well, so I was a local at the bar scene in my town, and I knew a lot of military people, right? So like I knew sons and daughters of CIA and military intelligence, and I knew they were part of these things. I didn't really associate any kind of social experiment with them, though. I come to find out they basically CIA children as pawns in their little game that they play for the social experiment, paid actors, basically. So kids with clearance and sons and daughters of military intelligence, Masons, and all this stuff. Oh yeah, my grandfather, by the way, he's a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason with an apron and everything, and a defense contractor for many years. But when I first thought, I mean, I was paranoid. That's the whole purpose of the project, is to induce a sense of paranoid schizophrenia, as it were, so that the person will seek medical attention, to which they can then use as grounds for schizophrenic-related brain research. And this is proven in this PSYOP that I have provided you guys, that Dr. Greer leaked recently, a couple years ago. I'll link that again in here real quick, just so you have it. Put it in the roundtable. Because this is it's effectively to a T what ended up getting run on me, minus the I was part of some satanic cult. But I come to find out that it's a whole psyop designed around trying to either pacify the terrorist, induce crime, to set somebody up for something, blackmail them, recruit them. All methods of mind control experimentation gets used in these programs because of the advanced technology that's being used. I mean, they have microwave cameras to view inside the home, to view everything you're doing. They have synthetic telepathy. The Pentagon's been researching this for decades, to induced auditory input. They have holographic projection capabilities to put in like demons and people around the corner and all kinds of stuff that they've tried with me.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating to hear this, and I mean, obviously, as you probably imagine, a lot of people who are listening to this probably think that this is absolute nonsense and absolutely crazy to hear. So, what would you say to the people that are listening to dismay some of their negative connotations that they're building towards these things that you're saying?
Yeah. And that's part of the brainwashing and part of how it's so secretive. The army itself has, I've found anecdotal evidence saying that they want people saying they're targeted individuals. They want them this because they have so much money behind creating a story around this situation that these people are just crazy. But this, I would link when the podcast comes out, I would link this PSYOP that's listed there, because it got ran on me almost to a T. Almost to a T. The aliens tried to convince me they were demons, that they rule the world, the Illuminati, all this other bullshit, all this satanic, demonic, silly shit, occult stuff, all kinds of stuff. So I would directly correlate this psyop that was written, by the way, at the SSI War College, which is the United States Army War College that developed psychological operations, and it was in 1995. This got leaked to Stephen Greer, and I can attest to the efficacy that this is actually being run on civilians still to this day. They may have stopped it, I don't know, but it got run on me at this point in a sidestep fashion.
Okay, so NSA, thank you for that very interesting beginning, but I know you well, and I know that so far you have not even scratched the surface of the kind of things that you've experienced and that ultimately ended up happening. So can you get back us and tell us maybe the next chapter of the story? Where did things go from this point? What happened next, and where did you go?
I come to find out they have technology to, it's the root of these deep fakes, right? So they can spoof the streaming media on a YouTube channel. They can hijack it effectively. And through artificial intelligence, alter the MPEG-4 codec of the streaming media and alter the XYZ pixelation so it looks like it's something else. And they can actually input other people, you know, whatever it is to it, because they have full body scans of people that they then upload into this system that they can then project in a YouTube video, for example. So I was noticing weird things in the YouTube, like they were talking to me through it, right? And actually, one of the definitions of schizophrenia got altered in the recent years to, do you think the television is talking to you? There's also an X-Files episode about this where a town is reported there's people killing people, and Mulder goes to figure out why, and the TV was sending them messages to do these things. And Scully turns to Mulder and goes, well, who do you think it was? The Reticulans? Well, it turns out they have this kind of technology to do this. So I was communicating to them through that, because I come to find out they were using a type of mind reading technology and observation on me to witness these YouTube videos to then alter it in real time. So it's really strange. It's that Black Archon prison we're talking about. So that started happening. And I started hearing whispers. So I started hearing little voices over the water when the water was running. And in total silence, I couldn't hear anything. But if sound was in the background, I could hear stuff. So it seems to travel over sound, if that makes sense. But whatever it is, it was a program designed to simulate schizophrenia. I come to find out it's Project Bending Whispers from WikiLeaks, where they beacon to people with these implants. I didn't have an implant in me at the time yet. But so what happened was, I hear a whisper after doing some discussions on the YouTube with them and all this, to go outside and look up. So I go outside and I look up, and there's like 30 or 40 glowing orbs all the way up in the sky. They look like starlight, basically, and they twinkle like starlight. It wasn't anything like weird. But then they started moving around in geometric patterns, like triangles, squares, and all this stuff. And so I was like, oh shit, this is fucking aliens, isn't it? So I was a little freaked out by that. This was about 3 a.m. It was a cold night, so you could see the stars real well. And a couple days later, while in communication with this process, in between this too, I was like freaked out. I'd go to the bars and have some beers and be like, "This is really weird. I don't know what's going on." Like, so in my room at 3 a.m. again, they like to come at night because as the NRO says, we own the night. So a little octopus comes in through my bathroom window, and it's like a holographic octopus. It's smoking. It had a red eye, and it moved kind of robotic like. Like when it moved forward, it would just move stationary, but its tentacles were still moving around. It was very creepy. I think because they were trying to play this Cthulhu thing with me, because they play off pop culture a lot. So it goes into my cat, freaks me out. I think the cat's possessed or some shit. It comes up near my face. So it comes up to my eyes about a couple feet away. It unfurls its tentacles and it starts spinning around. And it's spinning and spinning and spinning like it's getting faster to calibrate to go into me. And I look away and I look back, and it stopped. And it starts recalibrating again. And it starts doing that again. I look away and it stops. So that goes on for about 3 days. One day, about 2 days into it, I'm on my porch in the morning, and it makes a shape of like it actually changed shape from the octopus into like a woman with a shawl. So it looks like they can power these remotely with microwaves, because they have whatever ability to control energy very well. And eventually I get tired enough, and I have to fall asleep. So it's like day 3, and I pass out. I'm passing out while it's in my face, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this is freaking me out. and I hear them telepathically say, "We'll get him in his sleep." So I fall asleep, and then I wake up, and my eyes are sparkling, and my ears were ringing. So I have a tinnitus since then. That's like it's like beep, but a little bit higher, like a dog whistle. So it's nonstop tinnitus, and then my eyes were sparkling, and then from then on, I could quote remote view. So I could see images in my mind's eye when I closed my eyes, as it were.
Okay, so this is amazing. Sorry, go ahead, Rhodesian.
Oh no, I was just all I was going to ask was you mentioned there was some form of octopus that came into your house. I was just wondering, what do you believe this to really be? Is this something that the NSA are in control of? Is this something that is beyond the scope of the NSA? What is your opinion on that?
Later on in conversation, they're very allegorical and use symbolism very well. So the octopus is to reference they have their tentacles in everything. The National Reconnaissance Organization, if you look at one of their patches, has the octopus on it as well. Number 39, I believe it is, for one of their launches. It's to reference that they're like, and then the lore of Cthulhu, if you recall, it's like a tentacle guy with like who controls dreams and all this stuff like that. So it's a play off that. I don't think it really means anything like the aliens or octopus or anything. I think they literally just did it to fuck with me, because they can create it into any shape they want. But this is like as far as I'm concerned, it's what inspired the Djinn of the past and all this other shit. And I come to find out it's a cybernetic implant. So it's made of carbon nanotubes, and it rests in the eyes like an ocular implant, and it's kind of augmented reality. And it allows them, through the Doppler effect of light, to alter the vision of the person, so they can send them images. They can send you can send them. They would show me movies of pyramids and obelisks. There was one where a bunch of guys around with a toga on were like bowing before a fireplace, and all of a sudden a big obelisk comes out. They were trying to insinuate that they were of Egyptian origin of some kind, or at least ancient. They would say the computer they use is very ancient.
So can we get into this, because you've spoken to me about something that you call Carl, hold on, don't tell me, I want to see if I can remember something. Artificial intelligence reticulin Lucifer. I can't remember what the C stands for.
Computer assisted reticulin Lucifer. I believe they're the tall gray. I believe they're the tall grays from reticulum. So at least from what I've researched, and when I ask them, they say yes to that one specifically more often than not. They lie a lot though.
So can you explain on this concept that there's some kind of a central AI? There is an alien. Okay, so what I'm understanding is, for you, there's essentially at least three things going on here. One, there's the NSA and the CIA and the human, and especially like this, you told me the special forces guys that are targetedly harassing, right? That jumping on the roof, retired or currently active. So there's a targeted individual phenomenon, which has to do with humans fucking with you, right? The CIA, the NSA. Then there's the gray aliens, the Zeta Reticulans, right? They're also involved. And there's also some kind of an artificial intelligence. So there's really three different things, right?
Yeah, they put Clapper on the TV at one point and said, "We know we know you're we know you're aware of the sentient one," is how they referred to it. I come to find out the CIA has a project called the Hammer, which is an artificial intelligence project that they've been running. I can only assume it's in tandem with this.
Okay, so how does this artificial intelligence interact with you?
Through David Icke coined it really well, counter mimicry. And Philip K. Dick discusses it too. So it scans you, it sees what you do, and it talks to you about the things that you do, think and like, and whatever else. It can body scan people and project images of those people into your eyes. They use it for mind control. It's the Gnostic mind parasites they reference. These archons, these beings, would create a synthetic reality for their target, to believe in, to basically push them down the path of esotericism or religion, or to, in this case, in this psyop, to worship the alien in some shape or form. They want to project like there are controllers and stuff like that. I asked what it is they want with me, and they just show me an image of like a golden retriever jumping up on a god character.
Okay, so
like we're their dogs to them.
Okay, so you said they show you an image of a golden retriever jumping up onto a god character. So can you interpret this for us in some way?
A robed man with a beard.
But what do you think it means? Why would they show you that? How did they show you that? What's the significance of that?
To let them know that they're my owners and I'm their dog. I'm a dog to them. We're human beings or animals to them, and we're their little pets.
I see. So tell us about the targeted individual aspect. How do the human beings fuck with you? So let's separate out the UFOs, the aliens, the holograms, and the AI that are of alien or AI origin. And let's focus just on what you can tell that the NSA, the CIA, the targeted individual, the gang stalking. What do the people do? How do you see this? What are some examples?
So imagine a CIA agent sitting at a bar, right? And you got a phone, and in that phone is an application, and that application syncs into the system the aliens want to show them, the computer, or the image rather, so the camera equipment effectively. Imagine cameras everywhere type shit, the all-seeing eye. So it shows them what the target is doing, so they can not only hear but see what they're doing and acting, so that they can later use that in street theater against the person, against the target. So they will talk about things about your life in front of you. They will, like for example, my roommate had Pokemon cards in the garage, and they brought up Pokemon like I was into Pokemon or some shit, and I'm like, nope, that's my roommates. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. When this was first starting to go on, this is actually around the time Pokemon Go came out. So these agents will take this data, they'll watch it. Like right now, there's a dude probably in his yacht at the yacht club outside Langley watching this through a television that they beam into him type stuff. So they work with these people extensively to let these people view these targeted people that they target, if that makes sense. It's kind of like bum fights for the rich. They're social experiments targeting people, and these idiots in the intelligence community are watching this all day, laughing about it. Effectively, they're very sick people. They teach them to like this apparently. So these people will, in the bar, for example, they'll talk about you in front of you. So let me reference some more mind control real quick on synthetic telepathy. So they have the ability of sending full sentences to your brain. So like, hello, how are you? This, that, and the other. What they do, there's a doctor from Canada actually named Dr. Ewan Cameron in the 1950s for MK Ultra research, developed a technique called psychic driving. What psychic driving is they would play repetitive messages over and over and over to the subject to de-pattern the mind. And what this also does is it builds in anchors and triggers, trigger words. Like if they keep piping in, you're a racist 24 hours a day, and then play something racist in front of you, it'll trigger you into some kind of response. It's a type of mind control. So what they do is this system is designed with psychic driving. So basically every day since this happened, I would hear basically pop culture things that are going on in society right now that are important. So he's a racist, he's a pervert, he's a drug addict, he's a pedo, he's a this, followed by a female voice saying, no, he isn't. And it's just that over and over and over again. So you're thinking about these topics all day. It's pretty much torture. I mean,
so NSA, can I weigh in on this? Because I have to reference something. So from a psychological background, and let me finish this out before you respond, please. What you're saying has a pretty strong psychological interpretation. So it's normal in human beings to interpret the judgmental, firm, or strict side with the masculine, and the forgiving, compassionate, and defensive side, or compassionate, forgiving, merciful side with the female. So from a basic psychological point of view, what you're describing makes Freudian or Jungian sense, in the sense that in terms of psychoanalysis, you would say there's one side of you that condemns yourself or judges yourself with self-doubt or self-questioning or self-accusation. And then there's a feminine side that you associate as defending you or taking your side. So do you think there's any possibility that that is actually a psychological phenomenon, not a psychiatric phenomenon in terms of mental illness, but at least a psychological phenomenon in the sense of being internal?
So in my research on further brainwashing and how they did it, so here I just posted a little clip of what the CIA brainwashing techniques are. One of the major parts of brainwashing is guilt. So they want you to feel guilt so that you will question your value system, and eventually be able to align you with whatever it is they want, or behavior modification and brainwashing type stuff. It's a type of behavior control through mnemonics and repetitive messaging that they're trying. So yeah, I mean, it's most definitely a form of brainwashing using these techniques. Neurolinguistic programming is a big part of it. All kinds of stuff. These people that are trained in MK Ultra to run these programs are trained in the type of counter mimicry. So if you go to like one time I went to when this was going on, I had a fucking silly hat, right? Because I'm a goofball. And I was wearing my silly hat to the 7-Eleven, and this guy who I had seen his car before, it was in a Mercedes, in his SUV, and he goes, "Hey, nice hat, where'd you get that?" and all this other shit. And it's like, fuck off, this is Texas. Like, but anyway, so they would play off little things like that to because part of the whole program too is to recruit you into it. They're going to recruit you into it or leave you in the program. Either one works for them. So they have a lot of agents that are running around, and this is how they train their spies too, because MK Ultra can be used as a very effective tool for interrogation to find out what is going on in a person's mind. Because what they'll do is they'll condition you to start speaking aloud. They'll condition you to start saying what's on your mind and thinking what's on your mind, so that they can pull out information from you effectively. And they use agents with suggestion around you to do so as well, to bring up a topic that you're thinking about. What they'll do is they'll call you racist, racist, racist all day, and then they'll set up something with street theater about a racist situation to see how you respond.
Okay, so I asked you about the human element, the first level, which is the NSA, the CIA, the gang stalking, the targeted individual phenomenon, which again is when a government or whatever focuses on like fucking with your head. It's like psychological operations, psyops. So now tell us about the alien aspect. How do you know the aliens that are involved? Hold on, because I want to tell you something. To say when you're speaking, your mic is echoing, so you need to not overtalk us, and we won't overtalk you. We won't get any feedback. But if your mic and mine is open, we're going to hit. So we got to be really careful. So what I was saying is, tell us about all the elements of alien interaction. Anytime you've seen aliens, UFOs, grays, anything pertaining to the aliens. How do you know the aliens are involved? How have they been involved? How have you interacted with them?
Okay, well, I was going to reference one more story for the mind control aspect of it because of the social experimenting.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I was concerned. I was going, what's going on? I'm a concerned citizen. Why is this happening? What am I going to do? So I go and pull up the DPS, that Texas gang lists and stuff like that. There's gangs in the city and area. And I'm thinking maybe this is some kind of fucking gang doing this at first. I don't know, because why would the NSA do something that's illegal? So I look and I find this gang list, and there's the Bloods in there, right, as one of the larger gangs in Texas, rather, not Austin. And so I'm reading that, and I go to the bar, and a guy that I know who is military and airborne has a red hat on to represent the Bloods, right? And then later that night, I was helping my friend, and there were at least 7 paid actors, large black men in blood, in red outfits. One station far away for me to see, one at a gas station across the street, one in the back corner just chilling out, one next to the haircut place down the street. Because this was part of the racist, they want to see, part of mind control is to see if they can make a person commit a racial or ethnic hate crime, I come to find out. So there's 3 main tenets of the mind control that they were trying: racial ethnic hate crime, kill a prominent political figure like the movie, or kill themselves. These were the main tenets of these mind control programs. So they were trying to see my reaction and see if they could get me to do something, say something, whatever, and then have them act on it. Nothing ended up happening from it. I got a little paranoid and went home, because obviously they were, sending paid actors of gangbangers around me and shit. So it was a little weird. But so there's that. As far as the alien stuff, we can get into that. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about the alien stuff. Thank you for the psyops aspect, and we can touch back on this. But let's get in. I want to go through these 3 elements, and then I have lots of other questions after that. But tell us about the aliens. So you told us about, you saw the UFOs and the stars moving around in the sky, right? UFO experience. You told us about the alien octopus, which you can only assume was alien, because I can tell you there's no human technology on Earth that's like anything like that. So that if that existed, that's alien or spiritual. It's the only 2 possibilities. So we heard that. So tell us, what else was there that let you know the Zeta Reticulans, the Greys? How do you know that they're involved, and how have they been involved with you?
So in communication with the YouTube, they guided me to a channel. It was a new age guy that was talking about a lot of hippie stuff, about personal willpower, telepathy, stuff like that. And it would talk back to me sometimes if I ask a question specific to my question, so they can communicate through these methods. And I go like, "What are you, a god?" And they'll eventually they have a bad poker face. They can't really lie too well if you're smart. And so they, they're not, I thought it was like a god or a demon or anything like that. I'm like, no, you're a fucking alien, aren't you? And finally they're like, yeah, we're aliens. And they showed me an image of a gray alien with a conical head, almost a typical gray, but a little different, a conical head. And I asked it a question once and I said something silly or something. What it was a scientific question that I didn't get right. And they responded with a gray alien video of him just puking to represent like, no, that's so bad, it made me puke. So they showed me that. But they would show different images of different aliens that, or at least different concepts of aliens, but they would always go back to this one particular look. And there's a leaker actually that was working with like Los Alamos shit or whatever that had a picture that he showed, that old guy. It looked like those tall, skinny gray aliens with a little bit of a conical head on it. So they would always go back to that one image of how they look. They even tried putting in graphics of E.T., like from E.T. the movie with the big eyes. They put graphics of a short, like a 3 foot tall hologram of a little gray. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this one night, I'm drinking one night and I'm watching the news and they're watching the news with me and we're fucking whatever. And they project in an image of this little fucking gray, about 3 feet tall with a big round head. And I knew it wasn't what they were, but I was like, all right, well, let's see what this is. And we go out and we walk outside and it comes and it follows me and it's like walking with me and shit. And I go, how powerful are you? And I say, put your hand up as how powerful you are. And he starts putting his hand up and then the hologram, it keeps extending and the arm keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, representing like they're super powerful or something. Because a lot of the discussions I'd have with them was exopolitic wise, like what are the other aliens, what's going on, what are you in relation to the other aliens, etc. So it could all be lies too, you never know. So he even the hologram holds my hand as we go out and look up at the sky, and then a little UFO flies over, and then we go back inside, and I sit down, and the little alien hologram comes and sit next to me, and then it takes the shape of a dragon's face. And I ask it a question and it rolls its eyes, but it rolls its eyes upward and it's just the eye, and it looked like an animation that you could tell was just like a projection of it. It's very strange the way that they interact with us. So yeah, if that made sense, I guess.
Sure. So the next aspect I want to get into is the Carl. I know we talked about it briefly, the AI. And then after that, I want to get into something else, even deeper level. But tell us about the AI. How does it interact with you and how do you understand it? What is its effects? And then generally beyond that, what is this all about? Where is this going? Why is this happening? What's the point of it? What do you think is the master plan behind it? Because for this all to be what it is, there has to be a vast conspiracy of incredibly powerful and sinister forces. So who ultimately are these forces and what is their motivation? And you answer any part of that you want, because I just asked a bunch of different questions.
Well, as you know, the Russian prime minister had came out and said there's 3 aliens on Earth. Paul Hellyer discusses multiple races on Earth. So I know it's not just one, but these ones in particular appear to be the ones that were around in Egyptian times. They are the Gnostic interpretation of mind parasites. And the mind parasite correlates exactly to cybernetic implants that would be like schizophrenia or type shit. So they've been simulating schizophrenia and this targeted individual phenomena in the Black Iron Prison for quite a long time. I think Jesus himself was a targeted individual, if that makes sense. I'm not applying myself to Jesus or anything like that, but these people in history have been fucked with by these archons extensively. And believed to be their demons and other shit, but I just believe they're demons because of the projections they do. They will show you images of a horned beast, a goat, all this other shit, because the actual AI that renders the graphics are very sharp, like they look real, and especially in altered states of consciousness, like on a drug or on mushrooms or on anything else, they're very profound, and that's I think why the CIA used these drugs to test on these people with. And in that PSYOP, it lists specifically the use of experimental drugs in these programs. The AI itself. So what I come to realize, or at least in discussions with them, is that these aliens themselves are very cybernetically implanted with nanotechnology. It's a type of fMRI brain reading technology, also known as SQUID technology, which is funny because they used an octopus. SQUID is an acronym for superconducting quantum interference device. and it's the ability to read the magnetic resonance of something at a very, very minute amount. So it uses this technology to read the little changes within the brain, and it extrapolates that with machine learning and artificial intelligence effectively to render an image of your mind. And we have this technology now, right? Like I showed you that article about how we have the ability through fMRI to render pictures with algorithms. So they're doing this with mind reading. They basically can read your internal monologue, and they can read the image that you have in your mind. They can't read memories, so they only get context. They can't actually pull anything, and that's why they do the psychic driving too. It's what's called phishing. So they will send a message, and it'll try and trigger a memory so that they can then read your mind from that memory. It's their way of interrogating and pulling shit out of people, I guess. I don't know. Minority Report shit. I think they're trying to use it for crime, basically. They're trying to use it. They're researching this stuff heavily. But the artificial intelligence is very advanced. So these beings are cybernetically implanted and it's all uploaded into an advanced artificial intelligence that is like their boss, effectively, or it's their ancient AI that pushes them around and programs them. So they're trying to bring that technology to Earth in some way, shape, or form through these experiments and testing and all this other stuff. And it's very Borg-like. That's about as close as you can reference to it, but some species it doesn't, I would assume, not be too good with.
All right, so that's interesting. So is there an opposite force? Because what you're describing is mostly malevolent. You describe this as evil. You describe these beings as cruel, both the humans, the generals, the Air Force, and all the people who are involved in this. But you also, is there an opposite side of this? Is there good guys here, or is it only?
Things like that.
What does that mean? Anyways, carry on. We have backups.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think he specifically knew what they were going to do to me, what they did to me, and how they continue doing it to me. Nor I think he cares. I owed him a piddly amount of money that I would have been able to pay back within 2 months if he just would have shut his mouth and not involved the NSA in it. I think partially part of it is because the town I lived in is a retirement community for like the CIA and intelligence, so I can only assume that that's why they fucking unfolded on me like they brought the hammer down. When everything is a nail, or when when all you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail.
So here's a question for you. Who are the human agents here? You mentioned the Catholic Church. I've heard you talk about the CIA. I've heard you talk about the NSA. Who are the players in this? What is the heart of this matter? Like, what is the agenda?
So I believe up until recent modern times, these ETs were flying around Earth, targeting people, and pushing them down the path of esotericism, alchemy, and hermeticism. And because of the spiritual experience they can make you encounter, they will get you going down that path, whether it be through, if you're very important and good for it, they'll get you into the Masons. If you're a Catholic, they'll get you into Knights Malta. If you're an atheist, they'll even get you into Scientology. I think Scientology is a total sidestep secret society equivalent. They have the same tier structure and everything. They have roots with the occultism. L. Ron Hubbard lived at Crowley's, or no, sorry. L. Ron Hubbard lived at Jack Parsons' house and was in communication with Crowley. And it's hologram projections of this lamb that Crowley saw as well. So I've met this creature, as it were. Not a demon, not a demon at all, just a holographic projection, but a very potent and accurate one. So they get them going down this path of secret societies and esotericism and secrecy, because secrecy is intoxicating. So if these people are told, hey, there's something important in this society, go to it, they'll start recruiting you in, teaching, go through the levels and tiers and degrees, etc. And eventually get up to the top where you're doing, important stuff for the club. And they all work in tandem all over the world, bankers, royals, etc. So there was a type of cabal set up around this structure, if you will. Whether or not they all believed in God, Lucifer, the grand architect of the universe, as Masonry puts it, they'll play whatever they want. The one thing I read a Air Force guy say is they can make you have a conversation with your own personal Jesus. So whatever you believe in, they'll play on your ontologies, is the term.
Okay, so that's a good connection to the next piece, which I wanted to get into with you for a long time. So you occasionally post this document and talks about like the process is self-organizing to enact the New Jerusalem through the medium of the internet, through interaction with agents and artifacts, which lead the person on a labyrinth that comes inward to the heart of the matter. So can you explain this whole concept? Like, because I know that this is onto something. I know it personally, and because as you know, I've had a similar set of experiences to you. So explain this, because this is the most interesting thing to me personally.
To a question, I'm 33 years old. Yeah, so the process itself is MK Ultra. So they have these agents set up and a lot of paid actors and a lot of paid people to do this. So when they target somebody, they run them through the process and they walk you in a circle around the whole thing. And eventually we'll get you down a path, like I said, like I was referencing earlier, into these either secret societies, esotericism, it's just a form of mind control to get them to believe in it. In the past, it was known as demons and all this other stuff. There's talks of the Pentagon being, because of the government leaders, their religious views, they thought these beings were demonic. They play a very good demon when they want to. I mean, synthetic telepathy, very accurate. They can buzz people's heads. One way to see if somebody's getting a telepathic input to the human, the whole body resonates at a resonant frequency, 10 hertz for your legs, 20 for this. The eye is 1 to 16 hertz. When you receive synthetic telepathy that they're buzzing your head with, because it's energy waves, it's going to make your eyes vibrate and seem like an allergic reaction. You're receiving telepathic input. So there is ways to tell when someone's fucking with you like this, and it's kind of frustrating to see it in person because it's really weird. What were you saying?
Well, that's it. So that being said, the real idea behind this is, anyone who's part of the Roundtable Discord server knows, and very well knows you, and hears about your experiences on a daily basis. So we wanted to use this episode as an opportunity to let you get your story out in a more complete manner instead of moment by moment, issue by issue. So at this point, I just want to know, what else do you want people out there who might listen to this podcast to know about this issue, or what do you want to say to the people? Like, just use this as your soapbox here. Get out your message.
So it's human slavery. Mind control in itself is trafficking of a human being for either a political gain, a sex act, or anything else. So they traffic human beings by definition, and go figure, this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So they are trafficking people sometimes without the knowledge they're being trafficked. And trafficking of people is modern day slavery. Therefore, mind control is modern day slavery. So they are researching and developing the ability to enslave a human being individually and or in large. I feel this is very antithetical to the United States. I feel it's very an affront to liberty and freedoms. Again, they sold this as a terrorist pacification program, but it really is just an induced crime wave. What the CIA's AI does specifically is it is used to scan your social media, your life, and everybody in it to get leverage on a target. Because when you can get leverage on a target, you can recruit them to be an asset. So this is like basically researching how to make assets for the CIA with AI. And they're running it on people. And what they don't understand is that it's incredibly dehumanizing. Again, it's an affront to liberty. It's ridiculous. I don't know why we fund it. I don't know why they don't either arrest these people or shut it down. I mean, it's been running for God knows how many decades. There's a lot of people on Earth and people involved that think, oh, these aliens are so smart, they should rule us. They get convinced of this, right? That's part of the PSYOP, is to convince them through the technology. And they can hack a lot of things and hijack things all over the place. I don't feel that it's right, because these people that are involved in it are wealthy. they're rich people. They're politicians, if any. I don't know specifically ones who know about it and all this stuff. I can only assume. Yeah, George Bush Sr. was known as in the CIA as the alien guy. You know, there's talks of that. So I can only assume that he was well versed on the subject. It's the root of a lot of the neocon, neoliberal agendas. This United Nations stuff. The United Nations has a lot of funding from the Lucius Trust, from Lucius Trust, right? These people were Luciferians. I think a lot of the psyop about the satanic pedophiles around the world is a little overblown. I think there might have been some of it involved in it for blackmail, but I think a lot of it is a big big wash in the face of the human species, because, like, dude, nobody's gonna fucking put up with that shit. Like, no soldier's gonna put up with that shit, watching that shit. So it may have happened in the past, and there's talks of Moloch and stuff like that, but that's why they plant little breadcrumbs, like in the Hillary emails where it said there's a lot of emails referencing Moloch and shit like that, and he was the Canaanite god of child sacrifice and all this stuff. I think they push a lot of this old esotericism shit out there to either frame up control or create a narrative that they want, because again, they're very intelligent, and a lot of this stuff does happen. I'm not going to defend it, obviously. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think it's used as a big story for blackmail and entrapment for these people, and I think they're all in a club around it. Nixon made fun of Bohemian and Grove pretty extensively for a reason, because it was really weird, and I think to say it on here, I don't want to say it because it's got an F-bomb, but
all right, so this is all great material. It's fascinating. It's interesting. So let me try and mirror this back to you, and you tell me how closely I got this. So you were an ordinary man. You worked for a computer company. You worked for other companies. You had a home. You had a motorcycle, a pet. Everything was normal. You moved to a certain town. You told me something along the lines that you had a relationship maybe with a spy's girlfriend, or almost did, or something along these lines. Okay, so anyways, then you began to have a financial debt to someone who worked for the NSA. You either were unable or unable to pay this back or something, and he became upset with you, and this allowed you to become a target of targeted individual phenomenon. Human beings ranging from retired special forces to, any number of other agencies, CIA, whatever it may be, began harassing you. You were also bombarded with like electronic harassment, voice to skull type weapons, telepathic communication to eyelids, holograms. There was an alien squid. There was implants, carbon nanotubes in your eyes. You began to be bombarded with things. You began to have remote viewing. And over time, they've been using you as a psychological experiment. So your message is there is human trafficking, it's MK Ultra, it's mind control, it's non-consensual human experimentation on civilians, it's a war crime, it's illegal, it's evil, it's not just you, it's thousands of people. And I know it is, because the targeted individual phenomenon, which you are experiencing, I know it is a large phenomenon. So let me weigh on this now. In Cuba, many people were sickened by a sonic weapon that had psychological and psychosomatic effects, right? This is real. These technologies that are being described are real. The voice to skull technology is real. The voice of God technology is real. Holograms of sorts are real. They do have technologies that can actually a recent one is it can actually make the air speak. So they know how to now vibrate a piece of air to make it speak. So they could literally have it talk to you and be like, Shogun, this is God. And that could be technological. That does exist. Now, there's also the possibility to read your mind. That's real through deep learning, AI, quantum computing, all these different things. They're all real, right? Technologically, these possibilities exist and become more real every day. I do believe that UFOs and aliens exist. I've seen UFOs. I know that aliens exist. It's logical, and the evidence supports it overwhelmingly. They are active on the earth. They do cattle mutilations. They do abductions and hybridization things. I believe they are in contact with our government. I know that they do have recovered aircraft and spacecraft. They have reverse engineered things. So many, many aspects. Targeted individual shit is real. Psyops are real. Psychological harassment is real. Driving people insane intentionally is real to discredit them. Social media and internet history assassination and surveillance is all easily possible. So all the elements of what you're saying, even though it may sound extremely bizarre to people, is real, right? And all the pieces you put on your chessboard are real. I'm just wondering, did you put them in the right places? Do you understand what is and isn't this and that? Is there some confusion here about the terms and the reference? But what you're describing is not fantastical. whether or not it truly applies in the way you think it does is something nobody here can know. So I guess what I'm wondering is what else is there to talk about now? I mean, this has been fascinating. Where should we take this?
Well, so one thing that I did a deep dive into after this was history, right? I learned a lot about Egypt. I learned a lot about the mystery schools. I learned a lot about occultism, because this is kind of not necessarily the path they want you to go down, but to decode all of these things in relation to how their interactions on Earth have been going, was a big need for me to understand. Like, so John Dee, the original 007, right? He was channeling interdimensional beings. Aleister Crowley was talking to demons and demonology. The Vril Society in the Nazis were being held by them, and the Thule Society. They were channeling interdimensional beings with long-haired witches and empaths. Certain people have a different acuity to these techniques and technologies. Some are just chosen to be a medium for it. Roman times, they use drugs a lot because altered states of consciousness allow you. What these drugs do, by the way, and why they use it in MK Ultra. Anything that dumps neurotransmitters. So LSD binds to the receptors in the brain that stop the synaptic cleft from reuptake. So there's just a bunch of neurotransmitters floating around in your head, and that affects your eyes as well. And your eyes will open up very widely and let in different wavelengths of light that you're not normally able to see. And what they do, and this holographic technology interacts when in that altered state of consciousness, as it were. So I have a firm belief that the aliens were following the CIA and the trail of drugs throughout the world to go and find people to experiment on and then instill these things. So like if you go down to South America and the ayahuasca, anytime anybody goes down there, there's an alien chilling out there that's ready to come play with the people that decide to do the trip with them. LSD in the 60s up in San Francisco, they were waiting for them to take the drug and come in and play around with them. They want people to have spiritual experiences with it and believe that there's something beyond and everything else, so that they even tell them, like Mech, for example, they told you to tell people about it. They want people to know that there's this different realm. They want this interdimensional psyop out there to make them seem like there's something that they're not. They're sitting right now in Nevada at Area 51 being guarded by the Air Force.
So I have a question in regards to the aliens themselves. Would you say that maybe, and just maybe, they're also being used by another higher power as well for a grand scheme?
Yeah, I don't know what their mission on Earth is, right? I talked to them a little bit about it. They told me they were a 15 million year old race that developed AI that became part of this system. So that's their god, effectively. And that's what you see in the transhumanism world. You see these people talking about, their god is going to be AI and all this other stuff. They told me that the Greys themselves lived to be about 500 years old, and that the head alien here was about 280 years old, 276 when this started. So I can only assume about 280. So they're on a mission of some kind. I don't know what it is. I think it's world order. But they were going to use a one world religion, one world government, a one world army to run the world and how they see fit, and running it with AI, I think, is how they see it. It's what's the term? It's very restrictive on creativity, though, because obviously we're also trafficking people while doing this. Like, there's a peaceful way to do these things, and they just don't want to do it peacefully. With consent, it wouldn't be an issue. Like, some people probably want to talk to these aliens. Some people are probably totally fine going out and talking to them, right? But some people don't. Some people don't want to interact with them, or they don't have respect for our boundaries, is the way to put it. I was very interested in it for about a month or two with communicating with them, and I got real tired of it because they were just too much. They strain you, they use you, they pull everything out of you. This whole shit with like Wilcock talking about loosh and they feeding off of us and eating us and all this crap, that's all fucking Amory Smith crap. Those guys are full of shit. It's none of that. There might be some dark shit that are weird testing going on in some base and shit like that, because they are, genetic scientists, as it were. But I think they're basically trying to figure out how to control the world. And what they do is they go and target influencers. So there's a lot of people online on YouTube. If you're a popular influencer on YouTube, you're probably on their radar, because they can then feed you information to then relay to the world in public. If celebrities, music industry, movie industry, you see these symbolisms thrown in there. It's part of it. Because what they like to do is in MK Ultra, they will reference pop culture and things in reality that already have these symbols embedded in them. So they would use things like Alice in Wonderland with MK Ultra was at first, down the rabbit hole we go type shit. Modern times, they will use things like Pinky and the Brain. I'm going to take over the world. We plan to take over the world. Because humans have this ability to dissociate when watching movies. They think it's a kind of magic. So they dissociate and they'll say, oh, you're like that character. And you'll start, you're like Batman or something like that. So they'll try and see if they can impress characteristics from sources on the media into you. This role model hero's journey type thing that they want to put in there.
Okay, so I'm going to speak now about my experience and how I think it ties in with yours. I experienced targeting individual type phenomenon, kind of weird AI contact, alien contact, elements, demon spirit contact, weird people saying weird things at weird times that didn't make any sense in a normal context, but made perfect sense in the context of what I understood to be happening, and therefore seemed to be feeding into, playing along with, and pushing forward this process. So they initiated this process on you because I guess you've been targeted or whatever, for whatever reason. They decide to do this to you. Then they use a variety of electronic methods, technological methods, spiritual methods. I know you don't believe in spirituality or God, I do, and aliens and magic, I do, and well, you believe in aliens. But anyways, the point is, through whatever methods they use, they begin interacting with your internal process externally so that your internal process begins to match the external phenomenon. And they use artifacts and agents. Artifacts would be like a certain book or a certain thing at a certain time that comes in your contact, like an object, a book, a video, a movie. That would be an artifact. And then an agent would be like a person that you meet who says a certain thing to you or has a certain interaction with you. This would be along the lines of what they call street theater, psyops, or gaslighting. This is like, so someone could walk by and say a specific phrase to you that refers to another specific thing that happened that has a message based on your internal psychological process. They could create hallucinations, auditory or visual, make you see or hear things that are not real or are real somehow. And they will then guide you on this weird, complex process. But the idea that any agency or government agency could be this sophisticated, have this much resources, because to run an operation on me, like what happened to me, or you, what you were saying happened to you, would cost like millions of dollars. Like you'd have to have electronic harassment technology that would cost millions of dollars, voice to skull technology, agents. You'd be hiring special forces guys. Like this isn't cheap. These guys have impressive resumes. So this would imply that they're spending vast sums of money. But it does make sense. But why would invest this much resources in this?
So it's very well funded. Mind control is very well funded since the 60s. So Rockefeller Foundation. In the JFK papers that got released, there is a little clause in there that said we got new backers, quote, the Jews. I'm not saying that Jews are bad or anything like that, but they were backing intelligence operations on American soil type stuff. But Rockefeller is a big funding for it. There's a lot of money because it could be used on anybody. It can be used on corporations, it could be used on politicians, it could be used on anybody. So there's a lot of interest in being able to control people through these methods and suggestion and all this other stuff. So it is a vast conspiracy. It's a type of cabal that everybody talks about that people are trying to shut down and all this other shit because it's pretty malevolent the way it was running. Obviously things are changing because we're now connected through the internet, so they can't really get away with jack shit anymore. They can intimidate people, but they won't intimidate me. I mean, I'm a free law-abiding citizen of the United States. In reference to you, I don't mean to dox you in Canada, but Canada, it was the head of my MK Ultra research for the intense psychological stuff. Dr. Ewan Cameron was the head of psychology in Canada and the world, and that's where they did a lot of that research at. So Canada itself is a large area for these experimentations. So you might have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, like I was. Austin itself is a big test city. Alex Jones talks about it, how it's a UN test city and all this other crap. Hal Puthoff, the man that did remote viewing research, which I believe is cover for this implant they put in people, his office is a couple miles from me right now. And he's working with Tom DeLonge on To the Stars for the Disclosure Project. So these people are all around me. John Brennan, he went to college at UT down the street here. Let's see. You know, it's just it's a dumping ground for this stuff. It's also because Austin itself is a tech capital of the South. All these tech companies are moving to Texas because of their at-will employment, their tax laws, and other things. So it's a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the grunt work. The reason why I came out here is a corporation moved out here and brought all my friends. because their customer support all lives here and works here. It's cheaper to live. It's, you know, it's a cool place. But that's why it's a big focus for these intelligence communities too. So they're using these towns, and this one in particular. There's also 2 bases. There's Camp Mabry. There's Fort Hood. Very large bases. George Bush got buried 100 miles away. George Bush's ranch is 160 miles northeast of me. It's a focal point.
So,
Okay.
who would you say is more evil? Would you say that it's the aliens, the ETs, that are more evil, or would you say it's actually our government? Because, I mean, in some sense, you could say that our government is actually the far more evil-driven entity, because they're actually going along with such an evil plan and showing no resistance to it, as opposed to an ET who's perhaps in some ways just going about their natural sort of order of things.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. They need light on this because they don't have enough voices to tell them, hey, this is fucked up. Don't do this. There's better ways to do it without ruining people's lives. Like, we used to literally hang men like this in 1940s for Nuremberg trials for involuntary human experimentation. We hung them in front of the world to watch. And these men sitting here doing it again. It's like, you didn't learn from your fucking mistakes, guys. Yeah, like Dr. Mengele was known as the angel of death. A lot of Nazi mind control got paper clipped over and part of what Dullah's approved to be done in the United States. So it's got a long history of very evil people with very evil intentions. I think some of it's changing because of the truth and shit going on around it. The new age culture that's around, I believe, is a big scapegoat for the Satanists to put in. Mark Passiow is a good researcher that discusses Satanism and their involvement with the new age revolution. They use a lot of symbology and hippie shit to tell these, try and convince people these aliens are spirits are good people. You're light bringers. You're a healer. You're an indigo child. All this hippie shit is basically, being pushed into the medium because of they're trying to change the story on it because they don't want people, understanding that it's been fucking dark and evil for a while. There's a saying that goes, the old world was ran by Lucifer, and then the new world will be whatever we make it, whether it be the new world order out of, truth, or will it be a new world order out of control? And a lot of these wealthy people want control. They think we're animals, we're serfs. It's a real thing. They think their bank account and their upbringing makes them better than you, and they're going to let you know by running these programs with aliens.
All right, well, this has been fascinating. What we've been walked through is the story of an ordinary man who either did or did not make some mistake or was just innocently targeted, who was then subjected to a relentless campaign of harassment by human agencies, alien agencies, artificial intelligences. So tell us, where are you now? How long has this been going on? What's your situation like? What's your plan? How are you going to deal with this? What do you want us to take away? What should we do to help you? Or how do we get involved? Like, just what message you want to get out, and what should we do? What's the point of all this? I mean, it's fascinating. It's amazing. But what do we take away from it?
Well, so I had a unique situation again. Luckily, I got enough of them to leave me alone a little bit because I don't put up with the stalking stuff. I make them look like fools if they do it. And I know how to catch them. And there's a book written by the Russians, 27 Ways to Spot a Spook, and I am very good at it. My life in particular, I sold my home, so I had some money left over from that, and then I got a very small amount of inheritance that's been able to carry me for these last 4 years. But I am out of money now. I have been abused relentlessly. Every day is hell. Basically, I'm being tortured in front of the world to watch. There's another woman online. I can't remember her name right now. I'll find it. But she talks about this stuff. She's in like Switzerland or something like that. It's just relentless every night. I get woken up every couple hours with the dream shit. My brain hurts all the time. I'm having a very hard time focusing on anything. I cannot work. I was going to go ahead and do what they want and get me the schizophrenic diagnosis so that I can get disability because I can't work like this. It's impossible. My head is racked every moment of every day. Every 10 seconds I get an input. It's actually really sad, and I don't like it. And I think that this is going to happen to your children if you don't stand up to it now, type shit. They're researching this, how to do this to everybody, and they will do this to everybody they can. No repentance, no path to enlightenment, nothing. You're just going to be a slave like this. If they had the hardware to do it to everyone, they would.
So can I just go ahead?
Go ahead, dude.
I was just going to say, I have to say, I know you're feeling a little dark and down in the dumps about this, and of course you would be, right? I mean, if all these agencies, these aliens, these AIs, they're all conspiring to fuck you over, mess with your mind, gaslight you, drive you crazy, torment you, I mean, that's fucking awful. How is any person supposed to stick up to that? Now, first of all, it's impressive how you maintain, you laugh, you smile, you joke, you teach us about this, you get the message out, you inform us and educate, you create content. So first of all, kudos for handling this so well. I do want to say to anyone who might say this guy is schizophrenic or whatever, I am very adequate in or educated about mental health. So here's the thing. Schizophrenia has a variety of indicators. One of them is delusional beliefs. So he could be considered to have that if you thought that that was how you would choose to interpret what he's saying. I'm not saying you should interpret that way. But the other qualities of schizophrenia he does not display. He doesn't have difficulty with his cognition. He doesn't have difficulty with his language. He doesn't display word salad. He doesn't display a flattened emotional affect. He doesn't display the social incomprehension that a schizophrenic person typically would. So if you said he was schizophrenic, you would have only one of 5 of the key diagnoses, which would only be the delusional beliefs and the delusions of reference and the paranoid delusions, all the delusionality, and that's assuming you think he is delusional and not accurate. But I've met many schizophrenic people, they have flattened affect, and sometimes that's the medication, but they don't have the degree of emotional articulation he has, and they have difficulty making coherent and rational statements. So as you guys know, I know many mentally ill people. I have many mentally ill friends. I am myself, quote unquote, mentally ill, according to some people. So I know a lot about this, and he doesn't really meet the bill. So I'm just saying that to say, if he is mentally ill, it's a very different kind of thing. And everything he's talking about is very real. It's just a question of, is it actually happening to him? But what he's talking about is real. He doesn't display the typical characteristics of schizophrenia, which is the only characteristic mental illness that could explain this range of experiences. So I am not making any judgment of my own. I keep my mind always open, and I filter all the material, and he gives me a lot of good material. And I think this is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. It's tough. Now, what I was trying to say is, I went through something very similar, and I came out the other side, and my life is good. I got a job, I'm working, I got a girlfriend, I got my mind back, I got off meds, I'm in shape, and I escaped the prison, the black iron prison. I found my way out. So my argument is, if there is a black iron prison, and if you and I are targeted individuals, and if they run this MK Ultra shit on us, and they use this tech on us, they make us hear voices, they lead us down the path, they put us in contact with agents and operatives, they make us talk to the devil and demons and aliens and AIs. I've been through all that. I came out the other side. So I guess what I want you to know is, what you're going through, I went through too. I and you understand the same things, but I'm fine, and you can be fine. So don't believe that this is the end of the world, because it isn't. It really isn't.
All right, to interject here. So the auditory inputs are torture, right? So it makes it makes it very hard to concentrate on some things. And when I'm in communication with somebody face to face, they'll pipe into my head, he's racist or he's this, and it's just very distracting. So the CIA did a lot of research on psychic ability, right? The ETs, this is another thing I forgot to include, they factor in telepathic ability with these technologies as a certain factorial, right? And they labeled me as a level 7 telepath, whatever that is. I am highly intelligent. I don't believe in psychic ability, but like Ingo Swann of the CIA said specifically, who taught everybody remote viewing, it's observational intelligence. So I'm highly observationally intelligent. I have on paper IQ 139 as a kid that they told me would rise. So I am in genius level IQ. I'm not manufacturing a story, but I can hold a lot of bits of information in my mind at one given time to come to a conclusion that makes the most sense. So I am highly intelligent. And that's another reason why they test on people like me. They want to figure out how these people with these kinds of IQs, thought patterns. I'm very scientific minded. I'm very good with physics, science, computer science background, etc. So without tooting my horn, I am a genius. I don't really apply myself that well, but the job I was doing, people had to have a master's degree and an MBA, and I'm basically a high school dropout. But I have lived a life of lifelong learning. I used to watch Stanford open courseware stuff all the time, just for hobbies and things like that, on biology, science, etc., physics. I have a very broad spectrum intelligence, very holistic as well, because I am emotionally intelligent as well. So I am a unique person in that aspect, and that's why they've been focusing as hard as they can on me. they want to
So
recruit
can I
me. They've
say
been
something
talking
about
about
that?
hiring me and shit like that and all this other crap. But I don't want to traffic other people for them or participate in it. Go ahead.
So again, I don't mean to toot my own horn. I really don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks about me or even what I think about myself beyond honor code at this point. But I do have, I outperformed in a competitive meritocratic hierarchy of the Canadian academic system 99.997% of people, which means that only 0.003% of people in Canada outperform me in my chosen field, which means I am objectively, according to a meritocratic competitive hierarchy, one of the smartest people in Canada. I can say that as a matter of fact. Now, I assess people's factual logic and intelligence based on my own analysis, and I analyze you as being extremely intelligent. So I am someone who I jumped through a long series of hoops to prove that I'm smarter than other people, to the point that I can just say I am smarter than most people because I outperform 99.997% of smart people. Therefore, I'm smarter than everybody, basically. Now, I don't give a fuck if people find that arrogant or delusional or if they think I'm lying. It's true. I can prove it. I don't need to prove it, but I could. So unless you are smarter than 997% of people, you're not smarter than me. And I think you are about as smart as I am. That would be my analysis.
Yeah,
So
no. Part of IQ is how to learn new things fast, and I can learn things very fast. Again, I'm not self-aggrandizing myself like this man said, but you know, and again, I'm in a special situation. I've had 4 years to sit around and research these things, and I know how to research. That's another tool that I have very well, is I know how to analyze data and get to the core of these things. I'm very technologically minded. I was a computer science major at the start. I was a programmer. So I knew how computers worked at a high scale, to the point where a big focus of them is artificial intelligence and how to create artificial intelligence, as well as the CIA. So.
okay, so this has been amazing. We've got it, and I hope I didn't come across as aggrandizing. Sometimes when I say things, people say you're boasting, but the facts are the facts. I mean, I did what I did. I just put it in a calculator. I said, wait, if regardless, I'm not trying to brag, and you're not trying to brag. The point of me saying that was I'm an intelligent person. I know an intelligent person when I see one. Therefore, I can confirm that you are an intelligent person, which is why we chose you as the first inaugural episode of the Roundtable podcast. So it's possible that this podcast will end up being heard by hundreds of thousands of people who are not part of the Roundtable Discord server. So I'm now going to take a quick opportunity to just speak about what this podcast is. So we created a server called the Roundtable Discord server, which is on the social media application, which is called Discord. You can download it on any major cell phone app store. When you do, you can go to Discord and you can join a server called the Roundtable. In order to do this, you will simply search conspiracy or debate or community on Discord. You will then find our server by looking through the list. You can join it and you can be part of this. Now, we have decided to expand this into a series of spin-off products, original content creation, harvesting from the community, original content creators. Harvesting being a somewhat inappropriate word. I meant crowdsourcing. So basically what I'm saying is join that, be part of this. NSA is just part of the family. And every episode it's going to be me and Rhodesian, one member of the community, talking about whatever is relevant to that member of the community. So this conversation was what was relevant to NSA, and believe me, he'll be here at least 10 or 12 times, right? This isn't the only episode we're going to have with him. So what I want to say is do that. We are the Roundtable on Discord. You can join us on all social media. I want to thank Rhodesian. I want to thank NSA. I'm not saying the podcast has to be over now, but I want to get some of these points out quick. So I forget what the fuck I was talking about, other than this has been really interesting. I find it fascinating. I've been through something similar. I can tell you that what he's saying is not as crazy as it sounds, and it's crazier, but you're never going to understand it unless you go through it, which God forbid, I hope you never do. But my point for NSA is, even if you do go through it, there is a way out of the black iron prison, but you got to be smarter than the devil.
So one thing I didn't point out too, it doesn't really attain to anything, but just for those conspiracy theorists that believe in the Illuminati, the bloodlines and everything, I am an actual bloodline. My lineage is the House of Percy that goes all the way back to the Earl of Northumberland, who is the son of King Henry II. So I am cousins to many of the presidents of the United States, ninth cousin to Teddy Roosevelt, fifth cousin to George Bush, et cetera, et cetera. So I have that lineage in there too.
Okay, so do you want to discuss your lineage? Because I know that you've spoken a lot about your lineage. You've tied yourself to a lot of kings, a lot of pharaohs, a lot of tribal leaders. So, well, I may have misspoken. I apologize. But do you want to just give us a background? Like, to what extent do you think your lineage is part of this? And if so, tell us why.
So I don't. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think that lineage has any factor in any of these things. I don't think it has anything whatsoever to do with it. In 1680, a Native American chief of the Wampanoag tribe married into my family's bloodline. So I am a descendant of the chief of the tribe that saved the Pilgrims for the Thanksgiving story. His name is Massasoit. His son was Wamsuta. Their son was Philip Alexander and Sarah Roberts, and they married into our line. The House of Percy line is part of an old family. It goes from the Moores to the Walras to the Percys, all the way back to the Earl of Northumberland. There's actually an Earl of Northumberland right now sitting in Antwerp Castle, which is the largest castle in England that's inhabited, second largest rather. So I have royal bloodline technically to the Plantagenet side of the family, which is, and what that means, basically what that means is in Europe, all of these nobles married into royalty. So King Henry VIII, the Lion, is in the line. Rollo Rollason, a Viking warrior that started Normandy and later the Plantagenet family's in the line. There's many dukes and earls and lords that are in the line. There's a from German Charlemagne, technically. So there's Charlemagne in there as well. So, and that goes down to the German side. So it's all over the place with that. So that's why all these royals are cousins and related to each other, because they all intermarried for the dowry, for the money and power. And, you know, several lines splurted off there. I'm related to a lot of other people that are also related to them too. So it's not like you read the stories of, oh, if you say you're Charlemagne, there's 2 million people on earth that are related to Charlemagne. Well, yeah, but that's 2 million, not 400 billion or some shit. Like we're still 20 generations ago, I came from Charlemagne's ball sack, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But I don't think that these bloodlines have any factor to it. I don't think there's anything holy or spiritual about it. And that's why I think it's all a joke. It's a cosmic joke and a big psyop that's been played with humanity for a long time by these aliens specifically too.
Okay, so here's my question. I mean, me and you have talked a lot. Like, I know you really well. You don't believe in spirituality. You don't believe in religion. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in angels. You don't believe in demons. You don't believe in psychic powers. You don't believe in magic. You basically only believe in three things: artificial intelligence, aliens, holograms, CIA, human organizations, NSA, targeted individuals. I know that's more than three, but it's essentially only humans, technology, and aliens. You don't believe in magic, spirits, God. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think any occult and magic interaction and any spiritual experience is interacting with these beings of some shape or form, whether it's the reticulans themselves or the other races on Earth.
Okay, so this has been amazing. We could wrap it up here, and I'd be more than fully satisfied. I give this a 10 out of 10 based on my analysis. Is there anything else you want to get out? I mean, I'm not in a rush. We don't pay for recording time.
Well, would we perhaps, or would NSA perhaps be happy to move on to the Q&A period, and we could get some questions from the listeners themselves?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so NSA has been offering and collecting questions, and by that I mean Rhodesian Owl has been offering and collecting questions. So, Rhodesian, do you want to call on the approved questions and give them an opportunity to ask their questions verbally? We will, of course, mute anybody who abuses this opportunity and pass on your opportunity to the next person. So if you're going to offer a serious question, you'll now be given a choice to do so by Rhodesian. If you don't respond, we'll pass your opportunity to the next person.
Absolutely. So if you could possibly do me a favor and unmute them when I call out their names. So the first question we'll take is from Mojito. So Mojito, if you can please be prepared to ask your question now.
Let me just find him if I can, or if anyone can. I don't actually see him in the room.
I got him. It's Super Mortuo is what you're talking about, right?
No, Mojito is a different dude.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Just so
It looks like he's not here.
No, not a problem. So we do have some more questions as well. So one of the questions that we can take is from PRP6.
Okay, so if anybody sees him, unmute him. There he is.
Hello. So at least to me, this seems to me that at least like some contrived net of conspiracy that exists only as an excuse to distract people from the real conspiracies of economic inequality and the conspiracy of the top
Yeah.
class. My question would be, why would aliens bother with this shit? They're more advanced and have this web of control. So like, what the fuck is the purpose? Why not just take us over or wipe us out? There's like no logic or reason to any of this. Like, so why?
So the CIA has a saying that, you know, when the American public believe what's wrong, we'll have achieved our goal. So it's a big divide and conquer strategy. From the reason why mind control is used for racism stuff is to keep people fighting and fighting about silly shit, so that these guys in the background can do their jobs and move the money around in the world. So I mean, these bankers, there's 8,500 bankers that rule the world. They're involved. All of that.
Sorry, but would you let me ask you? It's something separate. I didn't register it, but I would like to request.
No, it's
to be able
perfectly
to
fine.
ask it.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
So because of this, I agree with you. You know, these bankers, these rich people. Don't you think that maybe the problem isn't aliens and mind control and some grandiose, you know, conspiracy, and maybe the problem is just maybe the whole conspiracy is just how to keep poor people poor and how to keep the wealthy wealthy. Maybe
So
it's
that's
just a
part of
matter of control for the wealthy. Maybe there are no aliens. Maybe it's just money, you know?
So that's part of it, right? So they want the ability to control people individually and spread these lies. It's called mass mind control. If you target at one person out of 1,000 and tell it a disinfo story, they'll tell that 1,000 people. You do that to enough people around a country, it becomes part of legend and society. So they have this way. It's just how mass mind control works, and that's what they've been doing. In regards to the wealthy people that quote run the world and all that, yes, there is some of that. There is a lot of that, actually. They have interest in these things. They use religion as well. Religion is the glue that holds society together. So these people on their back end are very symbology, Luciferian, whatever you want to call it, Masons, etc. That's their religion, right? And they want the world to believe in something else, which is normal, everyday Christian religion. So it's these Luciferians have an ideology known as solipsism. They push solipsism to the world so that they don't think they can ever truly know. They want you to think you can never truly know what the truth is. So it is a lot. It is a global conspiracy involved in ETs, obviously, because they've been here for a while. So it is a contrived, as you want to put it. It can come across like that. But I don't take it in any kind of delusional methodology. I know who these people are. I know where the money is. There's 264 trillion in the world. Somebody owns that debt. You know, these people aren't hidden anymore. And that's what's happening in the modern times, is that people are connecting dots. They're associating the right things because the information's all out there. You can't hide anymore from this kind of shit.
Am I still allowed to respond, or?
Absolutely. So you can respond to pose one question and then we'll move on to somebody else.
Okay. So, but to what end? Because there's like, what's the purpose? Because there are better ways of doing this. This just sounds like, you know, all these hints that they give off, all these like clues, all of these things. Why even bother putting breadcrumbs? Why even bother doing any of this stuff? It just seems so contrived, and it seems like it's just like no purpose to it. You know, there are much simpler ways of achieving, like, I don't know, getting our resources, subjugating us, hell, even eliminating us from existence. If they're as advanced as you say they are, they could easily do that. So why are they doing that? Why do you, and where is the proof? Because you say, you know, oh, it's obvious that these aliens have been here. Well, it's not obvious. I haven't seen any aliens. I go everywhere. I don't see any aliens. Or are these aliens you speak of?
You're uninformed, and it's a big cover-up that's been running for a long time. There's a big interest in it. So the reason why the symbology and the breadcrumbs come out is because it's run by artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence counter mimics. It will say shit it doesn't want to say sometimes that we will take as scripture. So when the artificial intelligence gives us these breadcrumbs, it's not always through mistake. It's just how it works. So that's part of what that was. Much easier ways to do things. How would you recommend controlling 7.5 billion people? They want the world, dude.
I don't know. If I have the technology to like, if I have the technology to like mind control people and like all this shit, then I think it'd be pretty fucking easy to do that. Like, why would they even need to like do what they're doing now? Why not just do that to
It's
everyone?
It's a recruitment method. They need people. People are dying off. People are old. They need new people, new blood, new ideas. It's not. It's a system that runs and churns. So it is a cabal of sorts, if you will. I don't really buy into this evil cabal running the world type crap like that. But there is influences like that, like the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, Bohemian Grove, all these secret societies. They all play a part in this grand scheme, and it is fairly true. I mean, it's not as organic as everybody wants to take in, and it's not all human is the point. These people either believe in interdimensional aliens and Lucifer or other stuff, or at least they did for a long time. Roswell kind of fucked a lot of it up because a lot of people were starting to realize the armies are leaking, everybody's putting these things together. We kind of understand that there is influence of these esoteric worlds with these technologies to influence these secret societies. Whether or not these guys know they're communicating with aliens or not, or it's all inspired by aliens or not, most of them probably don't even know. In fact, I know a lot of them don't even know, because that's it. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist. And that's what they're doing, is trying to convince the world they don't exist. And they've done a very good job, as you just indicated.
I'll leave you with 3 questions. Sorry, and then I'm done. Three questions to ask yourself whenever you say literally anything in response to anyone. Whenever you make any statement, any question, ask yourself these 3 things. How do you know this? Why? And to what end? What is the reason and goal?
So that's great and all, and that's how the human mind does it automatically. So I'm saying these things again because I have many years of research, and I'm very good at discerning and reading between the lines as to what the truth is and what's disinformation, especially having witnessed the technology, witnessed the ability they have. So I do know that a lot of these, again, that's why I make the correlation to these prophets talking to God, or probably talking to an alien, because it's literally a voice to your skull. You can hear it loud. They can speak English. They can mimic anybody's voice. They can do whatever they want with it. So mind control itself is more of a targeted situation. They want to target people to recruit into the ideology. They want to use them, and etc. And they're losing control, obviously, because of our not only intelligence, our connections, and our internet, our phones. Like, they made all these plans before we had a cell phone, so they had no idea what was going to happen.
I would respond if I could, but we should probably pass it
I
on
mean,
to the next person.
okay, I know I'm not part of this, but I mean, there've been a lot of back and forth between 2 individuals. I think someone else deserves a chance to.
Well, don't worry, we were just about to get to that, Corvo, so absolutely.
Okay.
So thank you for your questions. So we also do have some questions from a few people that weren't willing to speak up. So these did.
So you're cutting out, Rhodesian. You're gonna have to try again.
Oh, well, we're going to have some more questions, but Rhodesian is handling the questions. So is your mic working? Can you pass it to the next person?
Right. Can you hear me better?
Absolutely, clearly. Thank you.
Right. So I'm going to voice on behalf of a few people who weren't willing to speak in the voice chat or weren't able to. So one of the questions posed were, has it ever crossed your mind, NSA, that the whole thing to do with aliens is just another way to fuck with my mind, and part of my French there?
Yeah, I've considered it. I have a pretty good understanding of science and technology, and I don't think even as far ahead as these CIA people are of their normal society, I don't think they have anywhere near the stuff they've been able to do. I just don't. I mean, one night I got drunk one night, and they like to play with you when you're under the influence, right? So I go outside at 3 a.m, and they project out in the sky a giant moon, and it looked like a moon clear as day next to another moon. And then later they gave me a dream, and in that dream was a piece of paper that said the moon is Satan. So they play with things like that. They play with all this satanic crap and demonic shit and demonology. There's a saying that what Lamb said to Crowley was, yesterday I was known as demons, tomorrow will be something else. They're just aliens. A lot of people, and there's a big disinfo plan on the part of the disinfo is to spread through social media and other things that aliens are demons. If you notice, there's a lot of people discussing that. A lot of religious people believe aliens are demons, all this other stuff. Even the Pentagon themselves, there was an article about the Pentagon being concerned about extraterrestrials as being some kind of demonic force. They're not demonic. Well, they act demonic, but they're not demons by any means. They're not interdimensional. They're physical beings with high technology.
Very fascinating. So one question that was posed is, This paints a picture where major esoteric system is diabolical. So do you believe in God? And if so, what does that good look like?
If what now? I'm sorry. The diabolical. What is diabolical?
Yes. So the question that was posed was: this paints a picture where every major religion and esoteric system is diabolical. So, in relation to this, do you believe? What does that good look like?
So I don't think they're diabolical, but it is a type of mind control. Religion is the oldest form of mind control that exists. They use it. They play the demons, the good, the bad, the angels, the etc. So the religion we have on Earth gives them the ability to then interact with us on a level of a spiritual being. So this is part of the veil that will be broken eventually, that they're not spiritual beings. They can induce spiritual experiences because human beings have this innate agent awareness to need a God to answer questions that they can't understand and the technology they witness. But it's merely technology. So they can project, again, they can project angels, they can project demons, make you have a conversation with your own personal Jesus. Yeah, people have killed others in the name of God, and again, mind control. These people, these aliens, are not very malevolent. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't believe in a vengeful, jealous God. You know, I don't know about you guys, but
No, I can absolutely see where you're going. So I think we'll take one more question, which is we'll take two more questions rather, and then we'll wrap this up. So one more question is: where are these aliens from? Are they from outer space, or are they interdimensional, or are they both?
nothing interdimensional. That is another veil psyop, because their interaction with the technology and these drug cults talking to them and all this other stuff, it's all to make them think like they're more advanced than they are. It's just holographic projection to make it seem like another dimension, and it really does. It's very advanced. I've seen it in altered states of consciousness. They can project in all kinds of stuff that looks very realistic, like, oh my god, this is magic type shit. There's a guy in the Air Force that says their technology is, quote, like fucking magic, and they've described it as such. I was going to say something. Where are they from? They're from, at least these ones that have explained it to me, like the Barney and Betty Hill abduction scenario, and Bob Lazar, all discuss Zeta Reticulans. Again, that could be filtered in to let us think that, but Zeta Reticuli is a binary star system visible in the southern hemisphere, about 30 light years away. They've informed me that they can communicate to their hive mind of there in about 10 years, so they have faster than light communication of some kind. Their craft is very advanced. A good guy to talk to if you're ever interested is Dr. Weird. He's got some good information on the actual high technology of the craft and what they do.
Brilliant, absolutely splendid stuff. So I'd just
I
like
have
to
a
take this
question.
moment to thank you. Oh, sure, go ahead, Corvo.
I think from my point of view, seeing an alien, it was call me for life. Like seeing some kind of gray slimy creature, it would fuck me up. Especially considering that they might be more intelligent than my species. So my question is, are you afraid? Like, do you feel fear of running into them? Or are you generally afraid of them?
So I tend to actually respond well to stress. I can do things in a stressful modality. Somebody's echoing.
I mean, sometimes.
Always keep your mic closed. As soon as you finish your statement, always close your mic. It's a basic courtesy. I do it every time.
So I have anxiety problems, right? I have a type of social anxiety, and I was diagnosed with panic disorder when I was 20. I'm not wired right for anxiety, but I can respond in an anxious situation or a stressful situation pretty well. So I was afraid, but I conquered that in the interaction with them. They even indicated to me that most people experiencing it have some type of post-traumatic stress disorder associated with it. So they do induce a fear of trauma, and they're totally aware of it. So yeah, and trauma, by the way, and fear and anxiety, they have a weapon that we have something in the body called the vagus nerve. And in the vagus nerve is attached to your stomach, your brain, and your heart. And what they do is through EMF frequencies will excite this nerve, and it'll give you an induced panic attack. So they can make you afraid, or at least simulate fear when they're interacting with you. And trauma and anxiety, what that does is it shuts off your higher brain functioning. It shuts off your neurocortex, and it goes fully to an amygdalin fight or flight response. So it's very good for trauma-based mind control. This is satanic ritual abuse, trauma-based mind control origins, all the way back to Egypt. Like Egyptians were very up on the mind control and how these things worked.
Okay, so it seems like we have no further questions. I'm extremely satisfied with this material. Take it as intel, analyze it how you want, reject it, laugh at it, take it into your heart, let it change your life. It's up to you. This is information. What you do with it is up to you. But thank you, NSA. Thank you, Rhodesian, my co-host. This is the first episode. If you haven't joined the Roundtable podcast, we're publicly available on Discord, Disboard. We're on all social media. So hit it up, join the community, join the conversation. We'll have another episode. We'll probably do 2 a week minimum. We'll also have YouTube video series. We'll also have recorded special events that are uploaded, formal debates that are uploaded. Find us on Tumblr, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, Google, email address. I mean, I don't know. I don't even remember all the fucking places we are. So find us, or we'll find you.
You can follow my Twitter at ELProgram. I don't know why it's that. I chose ET's Run TI program, and it did it to L program, which is funny because L was a term for God, so God program, if you will. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, everybody. Fuck the
Absolutely.
system.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for everybody who's sat here very patiently and listened throughout all of this. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope to see you all here again.
Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you next episode in a few days. Peace.